we cannot start thinking of a National Youth Service Corps, which will be done in such a way nobody must influence the posting of children. If you are the son of an Eme, you are the son of an Oba, you are the son of an Igwe, let your son go and behave like an ordinary person somewhere in one village and help the people. Then maybe then we can do it. But as at now, NYC.
Martin Luther King Jr., an activist who was one of the most prominent leaders in the civil rights movement from 1955 until his assassination in 1968, once said, "We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly." And I agree with that one. Next one is from Kofi Annan, Ghanaian diplomat, a 7th UN Secretary General, 2001 Nobel Prize, Peace Prize winner, once said, "We may have different religions, different languages, different colored skin, but we all belong to one human race." Absolutely spot on. Jackie Chan, he is a Chinese actor, philanthropist, and UNICEF Goodwill Ambassador, once said, "We live now in a global village and we are in one single family. It is our responsibility to bring friendship and love from all different places around the world and live together in peace." And my last quote is from Jalal al-Adin Muhammad Rumi, who is a 13th century poet and Islamic scholar, once said, "Christian, Jew, Muslim, shaman, Zoroastrian, stone, ground, mountain, river, each has a secret way of being with the mystery, unique and not to be judged." Don't you just love all this code? Let's see how all of this relates to what we will be discussing today. Very warm greetings and welcome to The Conversation. We're reaching you from KAFTAN Television Studio here in the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Annabel Orji. Now, ethnicity and religion are two phenomena that can hardly be divorced from human race. While ethnicity gives humans the sense of belonging to a group which fosters solidarity and peace, religion plays a vital role to human lives by connecting them to mysticism, the spiritual, and giving them the hope of a better life here on earth and beyond. After death. Now, on the other hand, unity in diversity is used as an expression of harmony and unity between dissimilar individuals or groups. Recognizing and appreciating each other's differences not only creates an environment that is inclusive to everyone, but it is one of the best ways for groups to think creatively and generate ideas for impactful living. That's our focal point on the show today with my guest. We have two guests on the show today. Sheikh Nuhu Khalid, he is popularly referred to as the digital imam. And we also have Sleek Oshare, who is a political analyst. We'll start this conversation after this timeout. Ladies and gentlemen, this ship just sailed. Welcome again. If you just joined us, this is The Conversation. We're reaching you from KAFTAN Television Studio here in the nation's capital, Abuja. Right now, we'll go straight to our conversation for today. Now, we have two guests on the show today, like I said earlier. The first guest is Sleek Oshare. He is a political analyst and oil and gas expert. And we also have Sheikh Nuhu Khalid, who is popularly referred to as the digital imam. It's great to have you on the show today, sirs.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great. All right, now let's start with you, Sheikh Nuhu. I know that you understand Yoruba, you also understand Igbo, and then Hausa definitely, and then some other languages. So tell us, does this actually make you feel more Nigerian and comfortable that this is home, regardless of whatever challenges that we have to grapple with?
Yeah, the passion I have for Nigeria and Nigerians made me what I am in attempting to speak other languages like Nupe, like Fulfulde, and Kanuri.
Okay.
I add to what you've said, Yoruba and Igbo, but very little. But why did I have that passion? Why do I have that passion? It's because I love Nigeria and Nigerians. And I do so out of my love for humanity. Because I love humanity. You know, if you are human, if you are really a human being, you need to have that passion for love, for humanity, and respect for human race. If you don't respect human race, if you don't love human beings, you are dehumanizing yourself.
Okay.
It means that you are not a true human being. That is why I can I always like to speak other languages.
So first, we have to recognize the fact that we are humans before we are Nigerians, though.
Of course.
Okay.
Because there is no animals family that have that national cohesion. It is we humans that have that national cohesion. That is why we have to acknowledge being human beings first before acknowledging being Nigerians.
Okay, so I hear you say that you have the love for languages and you have ears for languages. So does that actually mean that, because a lot of people will tell you that I've stayed in a particular area, in a particular state or country for years, decades, and I don't even understand how to speak their language. So does that actually what makes it different from you and them?
Is the interest.
Okay. Does it mean they don't have interest?
In learning the languages.
Okay.
But it doesn't mean that they don't respect people or they are inhumans. Like my brother here. He stayed in Zaria, but he can't speak Hausa.
Okay.
But he's very, he has that national cohesion in his mind, and he respects Nigerians and people. So I don't think there is problem, but the difference is that interest only.
All right, so we'll come back to that. But then I'll come to you, Sleek Oshare. We understand that during the elections that was held across the country, a lot of people, politicians, statesmen, even electors, Nigerians, decided to bank on religious, ethnic, and tribal sentiments, which further divided us more than it should even unite us. And then we know that these things it has been there over time, even before the 2023 elections. And in fact, if you think that it has gone, wait until you see subsequent elections come forth. So, and some people will say that, why do we even make our ethnicity, our languages, our tongue that is supposed to be a blessing to us? Why some people then make it a problem? How do we deal?
Well, I think the first thing responsible for that is the scramble for acquisition of the national resources. The inequitable, people say the inequitable formula in sharing the national resources or access to national resources. Because of that perceived or that experienced problem, people now recline back to ethnic and religious solidarity in order to be able to access the national resources. This is happening because there have been some inequitable allocation resources, not necessarily on state level, not necessarily on ethnic level, but because on class level.
Oh, okay.
The class level. It is a class level which has been misunderstood to be religious or ethnic. Because if you look across the country, the lower class spread across all the ethnic and all the religious groups in the country and all the states. If you go to Sokoto, you see the very poor people there. If you go to Warri, you see the very poor people suffering the same condition. And the people, I also see the very rich people in Warri and very rich people in Sokoto acquiring resources to themselves. And like we will say, when the voters are being canvassed to vote for the people who are aspiring, most of the time, their children and families are not even in this country. But when the inauguration time comes, their parents, the children, and the family will come and occupy the position. That means the common people across the country who were being mobilized to will not be there. So the issue is that when you have little access to natural resources and you now go back and now call to your religious people to support you to get that natural resources, or you call your ethnic people to go for natural resources. How do we solve that? We solve that if we engage rather in class war by making sure that the resources are equitably distributed across the classes, not across the states or the ethnic groups.
What do you mean by engaging in class war?
In the class. In the class struggle, class struggle. That's between the middle class. Of course, the middle class is actually being eroded now. Between the lower class and the upper class, in order to make sure that the resources are spread, if not equally, at least equitably, for everybody to have hope. There are some people in this world, they do not want to be millionaires, but they simply want to live. So if you give such people hopes, and if everybody is sure that if you put on your little, you will have access to it, I will not have any cost to my ethnic group in order to struggle or to contribute to the national progress. So that's what we need to do. And then some of the people, the upper class, some of them, they have to be given opportunity to commit class suicide.
Okay.
You commit class suicide by denigrating, by rejecting your class and putting the resources available to you in your class by spreading them.
But some people don't even accept the fact that they are in the higher class.
Yeah, that is class blindness. They won't accept it, but they are being selfish on that. So the last election went ahead based on this process. My people are cheated. Oh, if I don't mobilize my people to my side, I will not be able to have access to it. So the Christian will say, if I don't mobilize all the Christians to myself, to my side, I will not be able to get access to them. The Muslim would say, if I don't mobilize all the Muslims to my side, I will not be able to get the vote. Which should it be? Why do you want to get the vote? Why do you want to get there? Those who have got there before, what did they do with it? So because those who have got there before didn't use it very well, other people are beginning to think that you need your class, you need your religion in order to go there. But I look forward to the day we will evolve and go beyond that level and see it as a class level and see it like my brother has said, humanity. If you don't respect the other human being, then you yourself, you're not a human being. If you don't expect the other person to live well, then you do not deserve to live well. So until we try to see the national cake or national resources, including human beings, as part of a system that must live well, we fail to get it right.
So do you ever see us going to that extent where we just say that it is not about whether it is Muslim ticket or it's not about the fact that zone it to a particular region? It is competence. Nigerians first. We should put Nigerians first.
It will come, because Karl Marx once said, no new social order emerges until the present contradictions are fully wrought. In other words, a new system cannot come up until everybody hates the present system.
So we all have to hate this.
We all have to say it becomes boring, it becomes monotonous. This thing we are doing is not working for us. It's not working for us. I am a Christian, it's not working for me. It's not giving me I as a Muslim, it's not working well for me. Then we need to change it. Somebody will rebel against it. Then we will reject it. And the new system will come up. And when the new system comes up, those who cannot cope with the new system will atrophy, will be pushed, will be eliminated either on their own, be made irrelevant, and then a new order will run. And that order is the one that will create the stability, the development we need. Now, we don't seem to see anything wrong yet. Until we all see everything wrong with it, and then we reject it. Then we'll come back, and then a new order will emerge.
All right, so I'll come to you, Sheikh Nuhu. I recall the former emir of Kano, that's Emir Sanusi, during the Kaduna Invest program in Kaduna State. He once stated that, okay, let me take it from here. He said, we have a challenge of nation building. Nigeria has now been divided dangerously along religious and ethnic lines. So we have an economy that is in doldrums and a dearth of leadership amongst political leaders. So if the elections have definitely come and gone, even though the election tribunals are on the way, they're ongoing. So do you actually think that we have been able to meet and resolve these challenges that were spoken about by the emir? Because I remember we had this conversation before the elections, and then you made some statements. So do you think that post-elections we've been able to overcome all that?
No. The post-election identify one thing in Nigeria, that we are in political trauma. We are in a problem, and we must solve that problem. If not, we are going to be in a very dangerous situation. What happened? The elections, starting from the campaign was not issue-based campaign. We forget about insecurity. We forgot about our economic problems, our unity, our educational system, our agriculture. Everything we have forgotten. We start talking about religion and ethnicity. But now we have to ask ourselves, why have we forgotten that insecurity has no religion? Poverty has no religion. Sickness has no religion. And we are all paying the price of insecurity, ill health care service, bad education, and what have you. The issue is that the politicians have understood that religion could be used to change the minds of people who will ask questions about the 24 years of democracy that we had. Where is the dividend of democracy? Why is it we are always borrowing to feed ourselves? Why is it there is a high inflation in the country? Why have we failed to have sustainable security and development in our society? People will ask these questions if the politicians did not use religion and ethnicity to manipulate the system and to manipulate our way of thinking.
But did we allow them to do so?
Well, they succeeded in doing that because there is a high level of ignorance in the society. We are ignorant of what is true democracy. What are the true dividends of democracy? We talk about, voting, election, but we don't talk about transparency. Very little Nigerians know what is our budget and how positively or negatively our budget has been used by the politicians. We don't talk about that. We only talk about elections. Had it been the issues that we are discussing during elections are the same issues that we'll be discussing to the end of the year, that Governor A has promised to reform this state in 3 or 4 folds or dimensions. Now, he has spent 3 years. We have not seen anything. our budget is amounted to this figure, and it is not properly utilized, then we start asking questions. Why? If we can do that, there will be development in our country. But without doing that, we can't develop. And we cannot do that. We cannot discuss properly our budget. We cannot discuss properly transparency, corruption, and other things that will bring about good governance. We cannot discuss that if we are looking at my brother here as Orobo. So I will not listen to him. I will not support him because he is Orobo. If he looks at me as Hausa Fulani and he don't want to listen to me, that will not take us anywhere, because the corrupt politicians will be hiding behind that to create chaos in the society, to manipulate the system, and to negatively bring the system back.
Absolutely spot on. But now let's still talk about how we can, because a lot of people now would tell you that we had National Youth Service Corps. We have National Youth Service Corps, and which the main aim for that National Youth Service Corps is to bring people together, make you travel from your place. If you're from Urobo, you can go straight to the northern part of the country, or the southern part, or the eastern part of the country. You have to leave your comfort zone and go somewhere else to acclimatize with that people around there, know their culture, their foods, their dressing, their marriages, their way of life. But then you still have, recently, if you ask someone from the south to travel to the north, they will first of all remind you, oh, you expect me to go that far with all of this insecurity and all of that. So there are some people that have been calling for that service corps should be eroded, it should be discarded. Do you agree with that call?
Yeah, straight away, I would say the NYC has outlived its lifespan. It doesn't need to exist because it doesn't achieve the purpose for which it was set up in 1973 or so, soon after the Civil War, as an effort to integrate the people, to build friendship across the nation. And why it is eroded is that, why it is at its time is that we didn't build, after a while, we didn't build the friendship that was needed. Two, the upper class again started discriminating, started deciding where their children will serve. So before it was made open, I'll give you an example. My sons served in Sokoto a few years back. When the mother was said, why Sokoto? There's Boko Haram. I said, let him go there. If he's going to die, he will die there. But let him go there and make new friends. Make friends across the country. And he served in Sokoto, and he served in Shagari village. When he was coming back, his boy said he liked the place. So
wow.
You see, this was the thing. But people were saying, even till now, people are still calling me. Oh, I want my child to serve in Abuja. I want the upper class just debated it, destroyed it. So it doesn't exist anymore because there's no trust. Then secondly, the opportunities for employment are no longer there. If you serve in Maiduguri and I want to stay back, at the end of the service, even though there may be vacancy there, the Maiduguri people or the Maiduguri government or even the private entrepreneurs there will not really recruit me because I'm from Delta State. They say, go back home. So they don't make me feel at home. So why do I have to waste 12 months there? After waiting 12 months away from my home, and I come back later, I'll become a stranger in my place again. So the employment opportunities are not there. That's one of the hindrances. The employment of, if the industries are across the country, when you post a child out, maybe at the end of the day, the child gets employed there. He has no need to come back home. And when the child is working, the people don't discriminate against the child, he won't come back home. All those possibilities are no longer there. They are no longer there. People cannot be absorbed in their places of primary assignment. So why are you continuing with the program that is no longer yielding? We are falling apart more often and often. And like we said, when my colleague here said, during the discussion, the electoral campaign, nobody talked about employment. Nobody talked about insecurity. Nobody talked about cultural development. Nobody talked about improved healthcare. See our top public servants, I won't mention their name, you know them. That's why going abroad for medical healthcare. Whereas this wasn't the case in the 50s and 60s, where foreigners were coming to Nigeria to have medical care. So nobody talked about it. People were now resorted to it because the idea of the ruling class is the ruling idea. So it is what those people are thinking that we are thinking today. So NYC, as I live in relevance, and like I've said in previous program before, we need to reboot the system. We need to change the presidential system to a parliamentary system which involves the people more in discussing, in debating the national needs, national direction, national orientation. We need that system. The presidential system doesn't allow that because presidential system gives too much power to few individuals who hold the resources, and every one of us is pursuing the resources. And for you to get access to resources, you have to kowtow to a few people who are not necessarily even more intelligent than you, and then who now allocate such resources to their cronies, to their relatives, to their tribesmen. So we need to reboot, we need to change the system, we need to jettison the presidential system, maybe to a parliamentary system. Thereafter, when we create love among ourselves, because we are debating, we are sitting together, talking more together. If we create love, if we create access to employment, even to investment, to private entrepreneurs, because some people who invest are not even educated people who will leave Sokoto to come to Warri, to come and rear cattle, or to come and do trade, or who come and establish a depot for their onions. They may not necessarily be educated people. We establish
Because I've seen a lot of uneducated people that are doing very well.
Yeah, they invest, they open depots there. So the moment we have a system that can allow that, then we cannot start thinking of a national youth service corps, which will be done in such a way nobody must influence the posting of children. If you are the son of an Eme, you are the son of an Oba, you are the son of an Igwe, let your son go and behave like an ordinary person somewhere in one village and help the people. Then maybe then we can do it. But as of now, NYC.
But I hear you say that we should actually. I know you have something to say before we go on that break. I hear you say we should, especially those that are not illiterate, but yet they are doing very well. So we should allow them to thrive in other places.
Yeah,
that they
people
go to.
should thrive. People should thrive. People should move.
Should they wait to be allowed to thrive? Because I've seen a particular store. I'm trying not to mention the name, but there's this very popular store here in Abuja. It's owned by a Northerner. If you see everywhere that store is, if you even know the owner of the store, he has an open window. He has open window. He's not so, but yet he's doing very well in his business. So do you have to wait for them to open the doors for us?
No. When we create the atmosphere, when we create the environment, people will fit in naturally for it. That's what I'm saying. And by creating the environment, you create employment opportunity, you create investment opportunity. And in that so doing, the National Assembly or the government will be a forum for everybody to participate in the discussion. What we have today, the president submit a budget. When you talk about it, the president submit a budget. By the time the budget is coming out, it's far, far different from what the president said. A lot of things I'll put in and tied in. Whereas what they are supposed to do in the president's budget, when it submits to you that, look, Mr. President, you say you get to get 10 billion, and you're expecting an income of 10 billion naira this year. And that 10 billion naira, this is how you want to spend it. You want to spend it on this and this and that. Mr. President, that 10 billion naira, don't spend it on this. Spend this percentage on this percentage on that. That's what you are supposed to do. But they don't do that. The president brings me, sir, I'm expecting 10 billion naira. I want to spend 1 billion in education, 1 billion in defense, 1 billion in the defense. Okay, you can spend the 1 billion, but that 10 billion you're expecting is not enough. You need to borrow because they will put other things which are meant for them. And the president, because the culture is such that if the president rejects it, they can override it. Whereas they are not the one to implement this thing. So the whole thing is mumbled up. A model of. But if we have a parliamentary system, like I always insist, the budget, the purse is in the parliament. Everybody is seen into the parliament, so you cannot introduce any stupid thing. The way they say the parties, constituency project, what the hell? You are supposed to be a legislator, not an executive. So these are the things. Once all those kind of things are eliminated, you see, every other thing will follow. The transparency will be there. The transparency will be there. People will trust each other more. So the Yoruba man will trust the Hausa man more. The Igbo man will trust the Ijaw man more. So, and when we trust each other more, we can accommodate each other. Because if I go to Maiduguri and I can flourish, why would I run away from Maiduguri? And this was how it has been. This is how it has been in decades by. But all that is narrowing out now. Picturing me.
All right, please, let's land on your thought before we break.
The issue of NYSC can be solved easily if we really want to. Because we are talking of insecurity now. And when you go to the military, the police, and whatever security agencies, they will tell you that there is problem of little personnel. They have no enough soldiers, enough police. Now look at the number of NYSC, our youths that are there every year. What if you take the system into the recruitment system of the police and the soldiers by saying that any graduates, instead of going to NYSC camp, let him stay in the soldier for 2 years.
Oh.
That is what they did, what they are doing in Turkey. That is what they are doing in Egypt. That is what they are doing even in America. Why can't we use that? It will help in solving the problem of recruitment in the police and the soldier. You know, there are a lot of callings about that. There is irregularities. There are irregularities in recruitment system.
Process.
Yes, so you can solve that, and also the issue of funding. The huge amount spent in the NYSC will be taken to the police and the soldier and the military. It's better that way, and we must take the issue of security more serious than we are doing now. He talks about foreign investors and creating atmosphere and enabling environment for the economy. You can't do that without security. Therefore, we need to solve the problem of NYSC through that way.
Great, awesome. All right, now let's go on a quick break, and when we return, we'll continue this conversation on our cultural diversity. See you later. Please stay tuned.
If I read the Quran in search of what will improve my truthfulness, then I will be guided by the Quran. And the same thing who reads the Bible in search for true righteousness, he will be guided by the Bible. But someone who is looking for wickedness must misinterpret the Quran or the Bible to become wicked. Very religious, but very wicked.
Welcome back. If you just joined us, this is The Conversation. We're reaching you from KAFTAN's television studio here in the nation's capital, Abuja. If you just joined us, you've actually missed out on a whole lot, but then you can still join in the conversation as we're talking about Nigeria's unity in diversity, how we can encourage it, even though it's been eroded, but then there's still hope. And our guest on the show today is Sheikh Nuhu Khalid. He is the digital imam, and we also have Sleek Oshare, who is a political analyst. All right, before we went on that show, you talked about how we can put the military also to help with the NYSC. That's like a call that a lot of people have been making, which is quite good. But now aside the government, let's talk about how parents, families, because people are, they're first of all from a family before they belong to a family tree before they become a citizen of a particular country. Let's talk about parents. How I've seen parents who actually tell their children that don't mingle with the Ofe Manus, that's the Yoruba people, or don't mingle with the Yamiris, or the Omoibos, or don't mingle with the Hausa people who they call the Ndogo and all that. So how then do we deal? Some would even say that, well, why are you talking to that child? Don't you know that he's a Muslim, or he's a Christian, or he's an idol worshiper? And these children tend to grow up with that mentality that they see these people and then they decide to avoid these people, even in terms of businesses, in terms of marriages, friendship. They want to always avoid those people. But then these are people's cultures, these are people's beliefs, they're people's traditions, they're people's religion that should be respected in every ramification. So how do we rid ourselves completely from this and raise generations that are free from this sentiment? How would you advise parents that they should allow their children, be it adults or children, to travel and visit states and cultures, probably to have their secondary or their tertiary institution education somewhere else in different states, just so that we can help appreciate our unity in diversity? Why do I ask this? Because this morning we had a particular guest who is an Igbo and he is a Muslim, but then everybody keep asking him, why are you Igbo and you're a Muslim?
Well, we have to first of all start teaching ourselves our core values and understand the importance of human rights. Many people don't understand that you as a person have the right to think the way you think and believe what you want to believe in and associate with whatever kind of people you want to associate with and express your understanding and view, in as much as it's not in contrast with the national or constitution of the nation. So therefore, we have to also come back to know what is the meaning of humanity. What is the essence of the differences that we have? Why do the Almighty decided to create different kind of people, different kind of languages, and in different location of the geographical world? We have to also acknowledge that religion meant to improve humanity, not to dehumanize people. If we can understand that it is important now to rediscover our scriptures, because people using the Bible, for instance, can be good because they are using the Bible, and some could be bad because they misinterpret the Bible. People that are using the Quran, the same thing. Then the problem is not the scripture. It is the interpretation of the
scriptures. Okay.
Therefore, we have to rediscover our scriptures by identifying values that will guide us to understand the scriptures. If I agree that speaking the truth, being truthful, is one of my values, my principles. If I read the Quran in search of what will improve my truthfulness, then I will be guided by the Quran. And the same thing who reads the Bible in search for true righteousness, he will be guided by the Bible. But someone who is looking for wickedness must misinterpret the Quran or the Bible to become wicked. Very religious, but very wicked. Therefore,
religious but very wicked.
yes, that is what we have in Nigeria. People are very religious,
But yet they're very wicked.
but yet they can kidnap fellow human beings. People are very religious, but yet they can loot Ministry of Education and render children ignorance. People are very religious, but yet they can steal from the Ministry of Health and render people very ill in their health. But they will acquire a lot to go abroad to acquire their personal health, live in the country. So we have to rediscover our scriptures by understanding the importance of interpreting our scriptures to teach us morality, core values, and as well as national cohesion.
Absolutely spot on. You actually made quite a lot of salient points. Now let's come to you, Sleek Oshare. But then, if you look at the homes, we talk about the homes again, parents. So in some homes, they don't encourage speaking in their dialects. You see fathers or mothers talking to their children, communicating with their children in English. And because we're talking about how the English people have actually brought their way of life to us, and we've collected it. But so if you go to some parents, they prefer to speak in their in English or pidgin rather, instead of speaking in their own local dialects. And then sometimes it can really be embarrassing when you go outside and then you're trying to say something to your own child, but he or she is not understanding. So how do we deal with that from the language?
Yes, I, as an honorable man, am one of the most affected by that issue.
So we're talking. You're going to speak from experience.
Yes,
Awesome.
I'm going to speak from experience. And my children, what I was doing, I didn't do it successfully. Maybe because my language is already one of the dire languages. Sorry to say, or I apologize to you, but that's the truth. I used to say, if they want to demand for something from me going to school, if you don't speak Yoruba, I'll pretend I didn't hear.
Interesting. I
So
like that
all
one.
of them learned to speak Yoruba to an extent, except one who didn't. Even up to now, he's in America. If anytime I wanted to ask something, he would not go to the others to teach him that particular thing. So he will just ask that question, get what he wanted, and go. So one, I would rather say, so languages are weak and not as comprehensive.
Why do you say languages? Some
Yes, some
are weak?
languages are weak.
How so?
Yes, they cannot stand side by side with the English language, the Pidgin English, Pidgin English, or the other languages. If you say there are some languages that are very strong. In Africa, for example, the Swahili is very strong in the sense that it's flexible, it's easy to understand, it's romantic, because the language also has to be romantic in order for people to love it. The Swahili is the strongest language in Africa because the Arabic is not an African language. So the Swahili is the strongest language. It's written easily, it's spoken easily. In fact, when you see people Ngugi wa Thiong'o, when he wrote the Petals of Blood, he had the English version, he had the Swahili version. So it's a very good language across East and West Africa. If you come back to Nigeria, the Hausa language is a very fluent language, very complete language. That was why the Hausa language, sorry to say, almost swallowed the Fufude. The Hausa language almost swallowed the Fufude. All Fulani people speak Hausa. All Fulani people speak Hausa, but I don't think all Hausa people speak Fufude. So that's it. The Yoruba language is another romantic language. It's another language that is complete. And the language is flexible if you can absorb other little languages along with them. In other words, the language grows. The English language grows. The Anglo-Saxon, if you look at English, if you go to the dictionary, you pick the word, they'll say the origin of the word. You either say it is Latin or French
Greek
or Germanic. And of course, the English language is actually a Germanic language. So because it grows, it killed the Greek, which was the dominant language that time. It killed the Latin, which was the dominant language. If you see the Igbo language is also another language that can easily be manipulated, flexible enough to move. And because these are languages also owned by large ethnic groups, so they are able to absorb the smaller languages that are not too flexible. Then again, the issue of class coming. If you get to the lower class, especially in the small ethnic groups, the small languages, so to say, the women selling, the women or men selling or hawking, who didn't go to school, they have this idea that, oh, my child must speak good English. My child must speak good English. So in the process, my child will not speak Urubu. Because if you speak Urubu, it means you are not enlightened. You are still a bush person. Yes, also they bring the children to speak Pidgin English, and the process of dialoguing with the children in Pidgin English, their language dies. So the language even dies faster with the lower class than with the upper class. Oh, wow. And of course, the other upper class come in the place I live here in Abuja. I've asked some of the people there. I've never seen their children speak Igbo. So I called them one day. But your wife is Igbo, your children are speaking English. He said no, and they speak very, very good English. So speaking good English is also a pride. It's also a pride. Right. I've arrived. It's a class issue which we belong there. We have liberated ourselves from
our
local
own
people.
local dialect.
But if you go to a Yoruba home, go to Yoruba home in London, go to Yoruba home in America, go to Hausa people's home in America, go to Hausa people home in London. They speak the language, the children speak the language, right? Because that is language of conversation in the house.
In the house, true.
That's the language of conversation. But the small ethnic groups, like Morobo people, it's not the language of conversation in the house. Even in my village, there are some children in my village. In fact, one of my tenants in the village, I found that the children were not speaking Yoruba language in the village. So this is the problem of the language. Then ability to export the language out. The English people, because they colonized nations, they were able to push their language out because it's a language of education. It's a language of socialization. It's a language of religion. Because the language which interpret religion to you. It's the language with which you get employment. It's a language with which they use in trading, in buying and selling. So they were able to push that on as colonialists. Yet, there are small people of barely 50-something million people, not up to 100 million people. Now the Chinese, 1.6 billion people, the largest language, the Mandarin, the largest language in the world, it's not widespread. It's not universal. But it's intact. It's a language of education there. It's a language of science there. But it's not universal. It didn't spread. The Hindu, India, is another large language, 1.2 billion people. It's a large language. It's romantic. When you listen to Indian songs, even if you don't understand what they're saying, you want to rock along with it. You enjoy it. The way the men use it to chase the women, you love it. But it has not been able to spread wide. So such a language can never die. Okay, so how about food? So most people just prefer just do the intercontinental dish and not serve our local food. Yeah, the food thing. I think to a lot of credit, our African foods have survived the Indomie invasion. The Indomie invasion. Indomie era. The Indomie invasion. So, but our food, our dekako, our suya, our fura de nunu, which I take, our amala, everywhere in America, in Europe, in Asia, in there, in Dubai, our food have survived. Awesome. But the fear is that we are having lazy parents now. Who are not succumbing to the Indomie invasion. It's quick to prepare. You don't need to wash many plates. And so they're indoctrinating their children that is fear. The fear is going to come. That's fear, the fear. But so far, our traditional cuisine, they're all over the place. Even the white men are eating them. The other day I read when they say banga soup, it's one of the tastiest meals in the world. Yeah, they put it there. They say it's one of the
And I
tastiest
agree
meals.
because I've never tasted banga soup, but somebody gifted
It's the
me.
tastiest
My PA
soup.
gifted me banga soup, and oh jeez,
It's
I can't remember. I can't remember celebrating.
So
it.
the African cuisine, the Nigerian cuisine, we have been able to. It has crossed each other. We eat fufu. You know?
Yes.
In fact, when I was in Warri, the northern boys, the other boys transferred to Warri that time. They fell in love with starch. Bangasu. Initially, they didn't know how to cut it, but they fell in love with it. Up to now, they still eat it. So our food have been all right. Suya, you can't miss it. Suya
Oh, no.
evening.
Yeah.
You can't miss it.
Most
Suya.
definitely.
You can't miss kilichi
Kilichi.
or the bunama.
Eh.
These things, they have survived. And we are glad to have them.
Awesome.
It's the language of the smaller ethnic groups that are actually suffering attack. And maybe in the next 50 to 100 years, some of them may be confined to
Completely eroded.
the archive.
Oh wow.
Yeah, unfortunate.
All right, so let's come back to you, Sheikh Nuhu, because you talked about the languages. Now, outside the home, we've talked about government, what government should do, what the homes should do. So outside the home and the family tree, what are the role of teachers? What are the role of religious leaders and also the government in all of this? At least the last time I checked, you still have ministries, departments, and agencies trying to buffer change instead of just. In fact, most of them don't even buffer the change. They just only prefer to major on the minor on the major things, and then instead of majoring on the major things and then minor on the minor things. Like we'll talk about the NOA, talk about Ministry of Information and Culture. What exactly should they be doing at this point? Because we look at our culture, our tourist sites. They're dying already. You have places like Obudu, Cattle Ranch, you have places like Yankari, you have so many tourist sites, but they're dying already. What should we be doing? Starting from, now you have, that's two questions in one. The religious leaders, the teachers, how should they help to revive our culture? And then going back to the government, what should they do in terms of reviving our tourism and tourist sites?
Well, in the first place, we have the religious leaders who are supposed to understand how much people are counting on them, how people are giving reference with them. If they understand that, they will now try to revive the culture, our culture, by using our languages in preaching to the people. By using our languages in the pulpits to understand the importance, and our code of dress also. Our leaders, religious leaders, should try to behave in their dress code as their locality. They should be promoting their locality in dress code.
So you mean that we should not see like pastors always wearing suits, instead wear the local?
Yes, of course.
Great, okay.
Because he wants to revive that culture. And coming to the government, we supposed not to limit it, the issue of culture, our culture, reviving our culture, to the National Orientation Agency only. We have to look at the local governments and the states. They are more close to the people. They are closer to the people. If, for instance, the local government chairman will be using the local dress of his people, talking to them, although the official language is English, we have to acknowledge that. But as well, when he is moving around to the marketplace or talking to the people in some gathering, he should be using their local language, so that we will now have that feeling of belonging.
Okay.
The same thing with the governor. if the governors will be doing that and having some ministries in the states that will uphold the culture of that state. But we also have to be aware of what is happening in the states. We have the issue of ethnicity, that if in the state there are 3 or 4 languages, and the governor belongs to one particular language, he will now be running away from the criticism that will come when he speak his language in front of the people.
True.
So he will be forced to speak English. In other words, English is international language, and we can't move away from the reality that is going to dominate the whole world. It's dominating because there is a prediction that the largest English-speaking country in the world by 2020 is going to be China.
Oh, okay.
That does mean that even the Chinese language you talk about is facing the problem of that. If you look at
the archives.
India now, if you look at Z Aflam, you will find that most of the Indian films now are now using English. So you can see we cannot run away from that reality.
All right, our time is fast spent, but before we round up, let's round up with you, Sleek Oshare, talking about tourism or tourist sites. We have a number of tourist sites where not only nationals can actually go and visit to understand their own culture or their own people or their even histories. You also have foreigners who can visit, investors who can go there to visit, and we can make huge sum of IGRs from that sector. You have quite a number of interesting places like the Kogosi Water Spring, you have the Whispering Palms in Badagry, you have the Obudukato Ranch, you have Tinapa, you have Arochukwu Long, Juju Slave Route, you have Yankari National Park, just to mention a few. But then the problem is that some of these tourist sites have unfortunately become den of thieves. Most of them, if you even just visit them, you might just get robbed. So how do we revamp that sector to give us that expected revenues and at the same time still get that purpose of sightseeing?
Yeah, well, first of all, before I answer the question, I'll tell you that next time when I appear on this television, I'm going to dress like an honorable man as a part of promotion of the culture. That being said, he has mentioned it before. First thing, the most crucial thing is security. We need to provide securities across the country, and that will make, if we do that, that will make those tourist sites more attractive to go to. And then we also need to improve our culture of maintenance. We don't have the culture of maintenance. We build, but we don't maintain. We just let it go. We need to keep those places well maintained and upgrade them as time goes on. Not just leaving them in the original state you made there. You need to increase them, you need to upgrade them, and then bring new things, incorporate some modern things along with it. So because when people are going there to look at that, the other people will be distracted by looking at modern things, so that they are not carried away, because some will go with their children and things like that. We also need to expand the places. For example, if you look the whole stretch of the Atlantic coast, from Badagry down to the Bakassi area, or maybe to Port Harcourt area, you have a large sea coast. There are many countries in the world that survive by making money from the sea coast. If you look at Barcelona in Spain, the whole of the sea coast of Barcelona is just a tourist center. We need to develop those places.
All right.
Like, my own idea, if you have my way, I will just build modern hotel, 5-star hotels along some part of the sea coast in Brutu, Focados, Penington area, Brass area. So foreigners could just go there. You don't make them visa-free zones.
Oh, okay.
Visa-free zone with airports there, so they can just fly in there and see the area. There's a species of bird, I can't remember now, that is only found in Nigeria. I remember in 1986 or no, the king of Spain, Juan Carlos, came to Nigeria and spent 2 weeks. Went there, things around Bauchi area. Went there to see because that was the only place they could see that species of bird that they no longer find in Europe. And spent 2 weeks there. He just sat down with his wife, watching the birds every day for 2 weeks before he left. There have been cases like that. So we need to revamp those places. We need to build security. And we need to build love among each other such that people can walk across the nation, because even the indigenes of that place are not ready to play host to tourists. Other people who are ready to play host to tourists should be able to migrate to that place and play the role. Because in my place, in those days, we grew up to say that you do not prosper in your home. You go to other people's home to prosper. Because when you are in your home, what we call wishes, wizards will worry you, family problem will worry you. You cannot go that you prosper when they take their eyes away from you. So for you to be able to do that, we need security. We need security in those areas. We need to break the suspicion. We suspect each other. Then we will do that. Tourism will now explode once again, and then we make more money from there. In fact, more money comes from tourism than selling plantain on the street.
Oh wow! Yeah. Thank you so much. It's been a wonderful time having this discussion with you. Thank you so much, Sheikh Nuhu Khalid. It's always a wonderful pleasure having this talk with you every time.
Thank you.
And thank you so much, Sleek Oshare. Every time we always enjoy this conversation, but time is always not our friend, though.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you so much for coming. All right, viewers, that's all we can take for today. We have been chatting with Sheikh Nuhu Khalid, who is referred to as the digital imam, and we also have Sleek Oshare, JP, who is a political analyst. It's been a wonderful time here on The Conversation. I'm sure you must have been rightly educated, entertained, and informed. Do well to teach your children, your wards, and everyone how to speak their own dialect and to keep their language, the dressing, and intermarry, food. Make sure that you intermarry. Don't just sit in your comfort zone. Check other people's dialect so that we can spread love. This one Nigeria, we are saying, it is me and you that will definitely bring it. I'll see you again next time. My name remains Annabel Orji. God bless you and yours, and God bless Nigeria.